Okay, so based on multiple requests, I've decided to make this video on the tuning of a tabla. I'll be making this in multiple parts and hopefully stitch it together to make it a complete whole. But let's talk about a little bit about the tools that you need. The first tool that you would of course need is a hammer. I use heavy hammers as I build tablas. The hammer that comes when you bought your tabla should be good enough for this purpose. Something more like this hammer that you would typically have with you when you buy your tabla set. The second tool that you would need is a screwdriver. Again, this is one custom made for us. You can contact us if you desire such a tool for yourself. We use this in multiple ways when we're working with tablas. However, for the regular homeowner, all I've done is I've taken a screwdriver and I've ground down the edge to make it slightly flat. What I've found works best is a blade width of 8 inches. In either case, if you want to use a hook, you can go to Amazon. These are pretty nifty. These are meat hooks. You can buy one of them for about 10 bucks. That's what I paid, at least when I bought this many years ago. And these are pretty useful too. I would grind the edge down so it's not as sharp. I usually don't use this much. I just use the standard screwdriver. Lastly, what you would need is a set of pliers. I keep both of these handy with me, regular linesman pliers and a set of needle nose pliers. Either one will do. Most of my usage is with this heavy linesman pliers. Now, talking about how we go about this, the first thing that we do, and I'm going to speed about this while not being perfect because I want you guys to understand the concept and to hold your hand and show you what is done in every which way. So you want to make sure that your tabla, before you begin, is balanced. In other words, and I'm just using my ear as a reference point and equal balancing it. It looks like the tonal quality of this tabla is in a range of C, and it seems to be balanced. I'm not using a meter at this point as a reference point, but just going by hearing what I see. The last knot on the tabla is right here, and you want to take this extra cordage out because you will need to retighten it, and you would get some more extra cordage once you're done with this whole process. So after you've done that, your first pegs are here, your last peg is here. I like to begin with the end of the tabla. There's a particular reason I like to do it this particular way. When you begin here, your hand gets tired by the time you come till here. So what happens is that these always tend to be looser than this. The other thing is that if you put excess pressure here, this is a used tabla that came to me with somebody. As you can see, the ring here is pulled more, which would lead to some unevenness in the balancing. You don't want the symptom. Start pulling about 2 or 3 houses from behind and take all the slack out there. So let's start with that. And I'm going to go from arbitrarily from some point, which I consider, okay, this is where my hand gets tired, so 3 houses. And what you do, you either take this or this. And if I give you a sideways look, this will be the first strap that I pull. And here. One word to mention, if your hand gets tired and you do not have a glove handy, you can use a piece of cloth which will protect your hand from any blisters or something of that nature. You can use that to pull. Take out peg by peg and start pulling this. I'll show you in a bit what this tabla will look like once we start taking the slack out. At this point, all I'm doing is taking the slack out, doing nothing else. You've come to the knot area. You loosen the knot slightly. I'll show you, facing the camera. So you loosen the knot slightly, open it up a little bit more. Then here, what I like to do is not use my hands. Part 2 of our video, we'll start off where we just left. And we start looking at, has my pull been in balance or not? Again, note I'm not using a meter. Feel free to use a meter if you want to check the frequency. I'm guessing this is somewhere in the B range. And this tabla is made for a C, and it's going to go approximately to a C when I put the dowels in. Where do you put the dowels in? 2 ways to think about it. Your first knot is here. The first dowel goes under the understrap. This is the overstrap, and this is the understrap. So your first dowel goes under the understrap. You count 1, 2, 3. Your next dowel goes in here. If you're looking at the concept of a house, this is what I would call a house. This collection of 4 straps starting at your first knot. So the dowel goes into the first house, the next dowel goes into the second house, and so on and so forth. You have 8 dowels, so you have 8 houses here. And all of those need to be in tune. When the dowels come in, most usually there's a small variation in the size of the dowels. And what I typically like to do is to take the largest dowel and use it on the last house, because that's one area where your hand strength does not work as well as you would expect it to work. It's always a little weak, the last knot, and that's where I use the largest dowel, which is what I just did, organize the dowels in the way that I want to put them in, based on the slight changes in size. Lift up, put your dowel in. The tool that I'm using is called a manori in the tabla maker's lingo. It's very much like a customized screwdriver, and this is the tool that we most often use in order to, while working with tablas. In case anyone is interested at this time before our site is up, you have me on Instagram, direct message me on Instagram, and I will make sure that I secure a manori for you. I am missing one dowel somewhere, which is right here. And my guess is, when I'm done, it's pulled so tight that this is going to go slightly above a C, and we'll balance it out. And you have to use the hammer to balance it out after you're done with your straps, because of the uneven sizes of the pegs. Once you put the pegs in, or the dowels in, you're going to see there'll be a slight difference in tone quality. this stage, I use a hammer. It's approximately in balance. I'll do the fine tuning in the last stage. It's tough as a single man to do the work and keep recording. But in the end, what you do is you take this slack, which is here, and you weave it through. And you weave it through the